Hello again from my front porch. I gotta tell you, I've been really looking forward to this episode because I've been planning this one for a little while. Now planning is a loose term. It's not like I have it all scripted out or anything, but I had this idea of wanting to do this, and so then I had to gather up some items, some props for the show, for this episode. And so you're in for an interesting show. See, I'm a firm believer that words mean things, and I'm not like a word Nazi, and I'm going around, oh, you misused that word. But if somebody does use a word incorrectly, especially in a social media conversation or discussion, I am one who is liable to point it out and say, I don't think you really mean that. But specifically for today, the words that I want to address are things like geek, nerd, fan, which is short for fanatic, enthusiast, which these are all terms that get used to describe somebody who really enjoys whatever it is. Now, the exception, of course, is if you are obsessive about, say, sports, then you're a fan, but you're not a sports nerd. You're not a sports geek. Apparently, at some point in time, we decided that sports things are, manly. That's not nerdy. That's not. And I'm sorry, but if you sit down and you say, I have my baseball cards and I've memorized all the stats and I can fire off things, whatever. I'm sorry, but you're a bit of a sports nerd. Sorry, that's just the way it is. That is just the truth. And so that's it. That's it. But those terms generally get used in other ways. I am starting to become a bit of a Pokemon Go nerd, geek, fan, enthusiast, whatever you want to call, because as over these last few weeks, as I've really started to play that with Lisa and her daughter Sophia, I'm finding that I'm enjoying it a lot. And her son Ian, now we're connected, and my niece Megan is playing it, and it's just it's a lot of fun. It's this world of additional connection, social connection during a time of social distancing. It's kind of fun that happens. Anyway, what I want to show you today, though, are the many and varied ways in which I not only earn the title of geek, nerd, fan, enthusiast, collector, whatever it is, but that I embrace those things firmly. See, there are a lot of people that even members of my family, that try to lump me into certain things. They'll say, oh, you like Star Trek, right? So then they buy me all this Star Trek stuff. It's like, well, I do enjoy Star Trek. I do. Dr. McCoy was my favorite character, but that doesn't mean that I like everything about Star Trek, and that I like every character on Star Trek, or like every series about, that's not me. I'm very selective and very surgical in how my appreciation is embodied. But in that level of appreciation, I do like to collect things. I do like to acquire things, and I do like to have what some call toys. They are toys, yeah. But I do like to get collectibles. But I'm not like tunnel vision. It's not like, oh, I'm all about Star Trek, or oh, I'm all about Doctor Who, or oh, I'm all about Lone Ranger, or oh, you got surprised. I threw it in there. You thought I was all going sci-fi. But all these different things that I have these interests in, and when I am interested in something, I truly embrace it. I try to grab onto it. And so this episode, I want to share with you just some. I'm not going to share with you all. I'm going to share with you just some of the things that I really enjoy, that some of the things that I own that help me to tangibly and physically enjoy and appreciate these things that I find pleasure in. So, are you ready for this? You're about to go on a journey through Paul's Geekdom. You ready? Here we go. Hang on. here's our first one. All right, so I mentioned this Dr. McCoy, right, from Star Trek. So I'm going to start with this. Now I actually got some other stuff out in my storage bin. I didn't feel like going out to get that, but so I'm going to show you these two things that I have in my possession right here. I've got my phaser from Star Trek from the original series. And I've got my tricorder from Star Trek, the original series. Now, you have to understand, these are not just the standard phasers and tricorder. So, like for example here, now, unfortunately this doesn't work because I have to get new batteries for the thing. And surprisingly, during this COVID-19 situation, it's not as easy to do that as you might think. But what's cool about this is like the ones that were actually used on the show. And I say that because you've got two phasers in one here. So you have the gun phaser that everyone is used to seeing. But if I pull this little release lever here, then I can pop out the small handheld version. Now, this is the part where normally I would be able to push and it would fire and you would hear sound effects, but it doesn't. Now, it's cool though because see, it takes it right out of here and it's just a little handheld phaser thingy on its own. But when I pop it back in here, again, if the batteries were working, then it would fire out of here like you would expect. And that's really cool. I think that's a lot of fun. But then I also have the tricorder. But this isn't the Mr. Spock tricorder. No. This is, and you notice, this one does have batteries. This one does work. This tricorder, see, you open it up. This is the medical tricorder. Remember, Dr. McCoy. I said I like Dr. McCoy. So in this one, I open up the bottom part here, and see, I got Dr. McCoy's nifty little medical scanner thing. Can you hear that? It's a little faint, but see, you're supposed to use it in conjunction with the tricorder though, because then you do this. Heart rate sounds steady, huh? How about this one? There we go. Not finding anything. And then, of course, there is some lines too. See, Dr. McCoy. See, little quotes like that. Anyway, so there you go. That's just a little bit. As I said, I've got some other stuff. Not a lot, but I've got some other items out of my storage building. But there you go. That's a little taste of what I have for Star Trek. Let's see what we have next. And now let's go from Star Trek to Stargate. Stargate, actually, to be honest with you, that's what I like better. And so I have many Stargate related items, but this I'm especially proud of. This is a pewter version of the Stargate. See, isn't that cool? See? You can see all so someone made it really well, but it's a little stands on its own there. I'm wanting to make a display out of this because what's interesting, what I really like about Stargate is not just the sci-fi aspects of it, the characters of it. I like the blending of plausible reality with outrageous science fiction. I think that's really cool. And so because of that, I have for this, I actually have gotten ID badges. So here's my first ID badge from when I was just a captain with Stargate Command. See the mustache and everything. There's my ID badge from when I was a captain with Stargate Command. But then eventually I got promoted, and so now here's my ID tag from rising to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel with Stargate Command. See, there we go. Much more impressive as a Lieutenant Colonel, right? And what's interesting is I actually took this with me to the Pentagon when I went to visit a good friend of mine who was a spokesperson at the Pentagon, and we took some pictures in the press room, which is the only place in the Pentagon you can take pictures. And I brought this along so that I could wear it in my pictures that I would take, just like cosplay, costume play, and I could wear that. And I showed it to him when I got there, and he told me to hide it, to keep it put away, because apparently this guy looks a little too similar to what actual ID badges look like in the Pentagon. Whoops. So he didn't want me to get in trouble for someone busting me for having a fake ID in the Pentagon. Yeah, I imagine that would be bad. But in the military, there also are these things called challenge coins. And the challenge coins are things that military people exchange with one another. Well, in the Stargate TV series, the Stargate program is run by the United States Air Force. And it's run out of Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, a secret military facility that's inside. And there's all kinds of rumors and legends about what happens in Cheyenne Mountain. Well, Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado, where the Stargate is. And I happen to have here, I have challenge coin, the actual authentic challenge coin for Cheyenne Mountain, for the actual facility. What's interesting is the back of the challenge coin for the Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station looks like a Stargate. Check that out. And there's all these other, see those 4 flags up there? Because it's a U.S. and Canadian joint venture, but there's a couple of other emblems in there. There are 4 other emblems, actually. If you look down across the mountain under the flags, those other emblems, those emblems connect with other things that the United States has. So, for example, and this is a rather old one, this one is for the Air Force Space Command, Guardians of the High Frontier. People mock and joke now about the Space Force that President Trump has created. Well, it's not new, folks. We've had Air Force Space Command using virtually the same logo that they've come up with for the Space Force. And that's been around for a very long time. So this, in fact, this is a little dated. So this is from the Air Force Space Command, which is one of those. And then now here's the slightly newer version of that, the Air Force Space Command. See? Again, that same logo. One of the other images on the back of that coin is the Cheyenne Mountain Operations Center. Here's their challenge coin from the Cheyenne Mountain Operations Center. Then also I have a couple of other different coins, or I guess this is the same coin. I guess I got 2 of them. So I can display both sides. That makes sense. But there's writing on one of the plastic pieces on one side of it, I'm realizing, so you won't be able to see it truly. But then these I love because these look so authentic. These are, don't drop it. These are actually challenge coins for Stargate Command. So the fiction becomes reality. Here's the front side of it and the back side of it. I like these challenge coins because, again, one of the things I like about the Stargate concept, the show, is that it blends the fantasy and the reality. And so these challenge coins do that really, really well as well. And so I look forward to, I want to create a display where I have this is the center of the display, and then also displaying these challenge coins, where, again, blending the real challenge coins of real actual branches of the U.S. military, the U.S. Air Force, as well as the fictional Stargate Command. Now, I need to find another one of these. I tried to find them, the original Cheyenne Mountain ones. I tried to get another one because I'd like to be able to display it so you could see both sides. I'm not trying to do that unless I can find a way to hang it inside the Stargate. But anyway, so there you go. I like Stargate, and so I have some odd little collectibles for that. Let's see what's next. All right, now, next up is another show. Well, who is up, you might ask? Doctor Who is while we're on the sci-fi kick, might as well see it through. Doctor Who is another show that I really, really enjoy. Now, I enjoy different things about it, but one thing that I enjoy about it is the fact that it has a main character who can keep changing. It's a brilliant strategy for a show to set it up in such a way that you can keep recasting who the main character is, and it doesn't trip up the viewers. It's not a problem. It's just factored in as part of the show. That's just the way it works. Well, among the most famous things that the Doctor has, the main character of the show, he used to be called Doctor Who. Now they just call the character the Doctor, and that Doctor Who isn't actually the character's name. In fact, we don't know what the character's name is. That's one of the big mysteries of the show. So I have here one of my personal favorite doctors of the many who have done it was the one played by Matt Smith. And so I have his sonic screwdriver. The Doctor carries one of these around. It keeps changing with most generations. It makes sounds. This one also has a feature that pops out, that looks kind of cool this way. So, and this is used to do all kinds of stuff. It's used to open locks, to examine people, to try to fix things. It doesn't work on wood. That's well established. All kinds of other things that this does. But I like it. His sonic screwdriver. I like that one. Now, I also like the 8th Doctor, who is played by Paul McGann, Paul McGann, actually, I should not a CG, and he was only really in one TV movie that was done between the old series and the new series. There was a gap time in between, and it was unfortunately done by American television, so it was not done correctly. But in that film, they did show him having a sonic screwdriver. His was still more the old-fashioned. You saw that one is very decorative. This is actually the 8th Doctor screwdriver, and it looks much more like the type that was on the show before. But you'll notice, makes the same sounds, because even though it looks different with each Doctor, it is still the same sonic device. I also like the 4th Doctor, who was played by Tom Baker. He was my first Doctor, because he was one I remembered watching on PBS when I was a kid growing up. That's where the scarf comes from. That's this famous scarf that people recognize. That's the 4th Doctor's. Unfortunately, I don't have the 4th Doctor's sonic screwdriver. But I do have a sonic screwdriver from the Doctor's wife. That's right, the Doctor does get married in the more modern eras to a lady named River Song, who is also sort of a time lady, more or less. But we first meet her when she meets the 10th Doctor, who is the one that gets to see her die. And then we see her building a relationship and getting married to the 11th Doctor, who is Matt Smith. And then we see her actually really make the relationship authentic and real, and her last moments with the 12th Doctor, who is Peter Capaldi. And we see the last night that the Doctor, Peter Capaldi, spends with her before the events that are going to happen next, which are the first events the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, meets her at. Because, it's a time travel show, so, they get it. But I do have River Song's sonic screwdriver, which when you use it, unlike the Doctor screwdriver, it has a red setting. Now, why does it have a red setting? Well, because it was added. See, inside this little panel here, is a red setting. Where you push the button, and now it's back to blue, or you push the little button, and it goes back to red. But now you have to watch the show to also know that there's inside there. That's where River Song's basic who she is downloaded into this in order for the Doctor to save her, because he knows what's coming. So that's River Song's screwdriver. River Song also has a diary that she carries around, so I have a copy of River Song's diary to go with River Song's screwdriver. But River Song's screwdriver is a customization. It's an expansion on the 10th Doctor's screwdriver. Stick with me. That's the one that she first meets, and he's the one who sees her die. And it's the 11th Doctor and the 12th Doctor who actually have the relationship with her, get married to her and all that stuff. But the 10th Doctor, his sonic screwdriver is the one that gets given to her, because see, here is the 10th Doctor's sonic screwdriver. See? It also makes it sounds. Supposed to make it sounds. There we go. Slightly different. and it too extends out like the 12th Doctor's or the 11th Doctor's one did. But you'll notice the similarities between the two. So this is a beaten and rigged up version of what it originally was supposed to be. Now, the 10th Doctor is played by David Tennant, who's really good. I like him. He's actually not one of my favorites, but I do have a really interesting moment with David Tennant. You see, the Doctor also has this stuff called sonic paper. And what that means is he's got this wallet card thingy that he's able to open up, and he's able to tell somebody, I am the district official in charge of this facility. And he holds this up, and because they're more weak-minded than he is able to psychically have them read on this card that identity. Look at it. Oh, you really are. So it's like a fake ID that keeps changing everywhere that he goes. Well, the 10th Doctor made a lot of use of that, and so did the 11th Doctor. So a couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to meet David Tennant and get a photo taken with him. So I took along my sonic screwdriver here, as the scarf, and so I took that along so that I could pose with a sonic screwdriver with him. But I also took along these two items for him to use as his props. And so I got a photo of us using these props. So technically, does that make them screen used? But these items were used by David Tennant, who plays the 10th Doctor, in the photo that I have with David Tennant, who played the 10th Doctor. Now, you may have also noticed how I was dressed in there in a suit and holding a different kind of wallet thing. Let's move on to our next topic. All right, now, one of the most interesting things that I have, and I say the most interesting things because this is one of the shows that I actually enjoy so much that I have personally cosplayed this thing. I even created a whole fake identity around this because it was just fun. Going to Comic-Con things that were held here in Des Moines and stuff. Wanted to dress up in a costume, and I don't really have the physique to be like a superhero kind of character, and that doesn't. I'm not really interested in that kind of a mentality. But there's a show that came on and starring a certain character that I really connected with, really enjoyed, and I thought, there we go. I could do that. I'd be even somewhat believable in this kind of thing. And that show is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, are a spin-off from the Marvel universe, the Marvel, the Avengers, and all those things. And in the Marvel universe, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are the S.H.I.E.L.D. is the organization that sort of looks after the Avengers. That does the stuff that the Avengers, bring the Avengers together and all that stuff. Now, of course, if you follow the Marvel movies, you know that S.H.I.E.L.D. also fell apart, that it got infiltrated by the enemy, and it got just decimated, obliterated on a global scale. Well, throughout the whole storyline, there's been this one agent, Agent Phil Coulson, who was just solid as a rock, real smart guy, nice guy, but effective, does his thing really well. In the movies, he dies. But of course, in superhero stuff, nobody ever completely dies. But in the movies, Phil Coulson dies only to be resurrected secretly on television and given this team as part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. When S.H.I.E.L.D. crumbles as part of the movie events that happen, because the TV show and the movies were very closely connected for a long time, until they kind of veered a little bit, but supposedly that's going to be explained in the upcoming 7th and final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They're going to talk about how they've gone back in time, and it's going to create some splinters, some parallel or alternate timeline scenarios, and apparently that's going to explain everything, how certain things happen in the Marvel movie universe that didn't happen on the TV show that we saw, that things turned out differently, is because of stuff that's now going to be seen in season 7. So that's kind of cool. I like the way they're weaving it all together like that. That's inventive. But anyway, Phil Coulson is brought back to life on TV, and he's given a team of agents, and they're going doing their thing. When S.H.I.E.L.D. collapses in the movies, Phil Coulson then is basically made the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Samuel L. Jackson's character, who has been running S.H.I.E.L.D. up to this point. And so I discovered that I could cosplay as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just by putting on a suit and a tie and putting on a couple of S.H.I.E.L.D. related items, you know, and having a badge and all that kind of stuff. So I found it very easy to get kind of sucked into this. But my character was not just standard Joe agent. My character is the assistant director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let me show you. Paul Smith, Deputy Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. See, right here, got my wallet. See, there's the badge, there's the ID card. Paul Smith, Deputy Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yep, so that's me. Now, you may say, well, if you're the Deputy Director of S.H.I.E.L.D., how come we didn't see anything about you on TV? Because somebody has to work behind the scenes and keep the wheels on the bus. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But lest you doubt that I have that level of connection with Phil Coulson and the other personnel, if you've watched the show, you know that Coulson was given a special little gift. That special little gift right here, the toolbox from Samuel L. Jackson's character, right here. See? Out of this, all of that information was kept right in here. This is Nick Fury's little gem. Okay, so all that stuff in there, and if you watched the movies, you also saw this little gizmo that Samuel L. Jackson uses to send a page through time and space to summon Captain Marvel back for help when when so many people get snapped away in the Marvel movies as well. So got that pager. Now, I mean, why would I have that pager unless Nick Fury and I are like that? So then also in my pack here, again, if you watch the movies, I have the little device, and I just blanked on what it's called. But this is the little badge thing that you have to wear when you're going into the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. Now, when you watch the movie, the one that Robert Redford is in, you watch the movie, this is also hooked up to a way that they can kill you. You're wearing it on the badge, and they can press a button, and it sends this big shock, and it stops your heart, and you just die. So got one of those. Then, in addition to, well, here, before I show you that, inside my bag here, yeah, there's other stuff in here. I told you, Phil Coulson, like that, right? You watch in the movie where Phil Coulson dies, then you've seen where Nick Fury throws some cards on the table. He has these collector cards from Captain America, vintage collector cards, but Nick Fury throws them on the table because they're covered in Phil Coulson's blood. That supposedly he was carrying them on him when that's not actually true. We find that out. But so here you go. Here's the cards. Here's Phil Coulson's collection of Captain America cards covered in Phil Coulson's blood. Okay, so again, how can I have those unless Phil and I are like that too? But also, my cosplay character, he's been around for a while, just like Stargate. I had a couple of variations. So here's the old S.H.I.E.L.D. badge, an older S.H.I.E.L.D. badge, and the older S.H.I.E.L.D. card. See that guy? He's just a field officer level 10. He's pretty high up, but still just a field officer, not the deputy director that we see in the other example there. See, got the so got those. He's been around for a while, and he's got some files too. See, he's got some S.H.I.E.L.D. files that classified things, classified S.H.I.E.L.D. folders, and among the stuff that's in here, we've got we've got information on Thor's hammer, the Bifrost. This is obviously the Thor file here. You see, there's stuff in here, and then so some sketches. There's the photo of Thor materializing in the storm out in the desert there. See, so all of those things are in here in this particular file. Let's see what's in this other next file. Oh, this is just a review of the team of Coulson's team. So here's a instruction guidebook for his airplane. Here's a personnel file on Phil Coulson himself, a summary, redacted, of course. Whoops, don't want to drop the papers and make a mess all over the floor. But so that's all in here. Things about different members of his team, some of their adversaries as well. Yeah, so, oh, and then here's blueprints for his plane again. So you see blueprints for the plane. Then some other documents, and so all kinds of other folders here that the deputy director of SHIELD, has available at his disposal. But then also out of my nifty SHIELD bag, he's also a fan of the history of SHIELD, and so because of that, he actually owns an authentic vintage SHIELD walkie-talkie. See? It's an authentic vintage SHIELD walkie-talkie that actually does work. You remember, we used to have these as kids, but a big, long antenna on this thing, and it actually works. See? It's the real deal. It's not like some fake thing that just has recordings on or something. Real, authentic, real deal SHIELD walkie-talkie, and of course, a extra special item in here is this special medallion, this special Medal of Honor, presented by the Strategic Scientific Reserve to Margaret Carter, known as Peggy Carter, Agent Carter, on November 11th, 1945. There you go. See? So I got my Agent Carter connected things as well. So there you go. That's just I'm not even showing you the suit with the lapel pin and there's an ID card and stuff. So I have a lot of fun with that Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. But let's see what's next. All right, so now we've been talking a lot about different sci-fi kind of things and shows, but now Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of crosses that boundary of being sci-fi, but it's also crime fighting kind of stuff. So since we're talking about sci-fi and crime fighting, well, of course, you know what that means. Knight Rider, right? Of course, I knew you were on the same page with me. So I happen to have here the owner's manual to the Knight 2000. Not joking. See, Knight 2000 owner's manual. And so you look inside here, and it's got all kinds of information about KIT, the car, the Knight Industries 2000. About its different functions, different options, different modes, all of it right here in the owner's manual. And in addition to that, I have the technical specifications book. Now this is actually seen on screen. There's the episode, and I blank on the title now. There's the episode where Kit and Michael try to take on Goliath, which is a semi that is made similar to the way Kit has been made. And they're battling on the desert, and Goliath plows into Kit and just leaves him, mangled and flipped over out on the desert floor. And Michael has to figure out how to repair Kit enough to get him back on his wheels and to get him out of the desert before they both just, expire out there. And so, with that being the case, we see Michael dig this out of the car, and in it are technical specifications for the Knight Industries 2000, and you see here that it's got the contents in it for all the different all the different areas, the different schematics over here as well. Different details about the different systems. So all of that in here in the binder about the Knight Industries 2000. So and again, Knight Rider, great show, loved it very much. Let's see what we have next. All right, while we're on the topic of TV shows, that are sci-fi, or at least interesting and strange. There is this show on now. It's on Netflix actually, called Stranger Things. I didn't really get into it initially. My daughter really convinced me that I needed to watch it. In fact, she sort of forced me to watch the first episodes. and I found that, yeah, I did like it. And so I started watching it. And much like Star Trek, though, while I enjoyed the overall show, there's one character on the show that I really have connected with. And that is the town sheriff, played by the character Jim Hopper. And so I actually I don't have a lot for Stranger Things, but I actually have my Jim Hopper action figure. See here, from Stranger Things. And what's funny is the Jim Hopper action figure, he comes with two items: his gun and his coffee cup. See? So you got Chief Hopper. You have comes with his gun and his coffee cup. Yay, okay, good for him. But then I also have my Jim Hopper Hawaiian shirt. My daughter got this for me so that I could wear this, and I also got her and her husband items from Stranger Thing as well, items that were supposedly from the Starcourt Mall, which is the fictional mall in the most recent season of Stranger Things. But maybe I'll get other Stranger Things as time goes on. We'll see. I don't know. But for now, let's see what else I got. All right, now we're going to shift gears and go into the bizarre, the mystical, the supernatural. Literally, because one of my favorite shows right now has been the show Supernatural, which is in its 15th and final season. Technically, it probably should have wrapped up by now, but the last few episodes of this 15th and final season of the show, because they decided to end it. The ratings are still phenomenal, but the actors, the people involved in the show decided 15 was enough, let's stop. But because of this COVID-19 virus stuff, they weren't able to actually finish the post-production on the last few episodes. So we haven't actually seen the end of the series yet. We haven't seen the end of the season, but I have an item from the show that, if you have watched the show, you'll know how significant the item is. But I have my own copy of The Colt. That's right, The Colt. And so, this is the gun made by Samuel Colt, who, according to the show, was also a hunter, somebody who hunted down monsters and creatures, and that he made this special gun that, when loaded with special bullets, was able to kill anything. That you could use this gun to kill, literally anything. So there we go. There's my Colt from Supernatural. Let's see what else we got. All right, so continuing on with the whole mystical supernatural theme, we're going to shift us over to the movies now, where I have two similar items from the same movie series. You've all heard of Harry Potter, and so I've got 2 Harry Potter wands. Now, this first one, this is my original first one. Both of them I've got down in Orlando, Florida, visiting the Harry Potter world experience down there. But this one I got because there was a person there, and they said, you want a wand of a character, or you want your own? And I said, I want one of my own. And they said, well, tell me about yourself. And so I told them what I like to do. And based on what I told them, they said, well, this is the wand for you. And they had all these really positive things that they said about it. And I was like, it's a funky looking wand. It's kind of creepy. See, it's got a big skull there on the face of it. That's kind of creepy looking, but okay. Well, if they say this is the one that would work for me, then all right, yeah, that's then the one that I want. And so I got it, but then I got home. See, I didn't really know my Harry Potter really well. I got home and I'm told, no, that's actually a Death Eater wand. That's basically a bad guy's wand. And I'm like, what? What? They didn't tell me that. I didn't. But I bought it. It's mine. And so, apparently there's part of it. I do like the fact that it kind of looks very Stargate-ish with the serpent guard thing at the top. I do like that part of it. But this last time that I was down there, I decided I'm getting another wand. And so I told them I didn't want one of those Death Eater ones. We talked about what my birth month was. We talked about all these different things. And so they lined me up with this one. And this one feels much more normal. It doesn't look quite so scary. And has some cool detailing on it. So this one this one, I know in the show, in the movies, they say that the wand picks the wizard or whatever. Well, that was not the case this time. This time I definitely picked the wand. Because if this was the one that picked me, well, I still have it, but this was the one that I wanted. So there you go. Sorry, Harry. All right, let's see what we have next. All right, another entry in the mystical and the magical has got to be one of my all-time favorite movie franchises, and that is Indiana Jones. Now, a lot of people, hated the Crystal Skull movie. I thought it was pretty good. Oh, what, aliens? How come there can't be aliens in Indiana Jones? That's not believable. Oh, right, because the Ark of the Covenant killing Nazis, 3 stones, killing entire crops, or a priest being able to literally rip your heart out of your chest and you stay alive because of the magic of it. And then, the Holy Grail cup that keeps a knight alive forever. And then, all the massive labyrinth of incredible booby trap things. Yeah, all of that was totally believable. And you're worried about there being aliens in the 4th one. Come on. But so I have here the Lost Journal of Indiana Jones. And it says that this was the Journal of Dr. Henry Jones Jr. from the years 1908 to 1957, obtained by the KGB in 1957 and subsequently inherited by our collection. Further details and notes enclosed within. Contents are highly sensitive. Now, don't ask me how I got this from the Russians. That's top secret. But inside this really interesting book is is a whole bunch of really cool stuff. It really is. It's got pictures of him and his dad from early on. Here's there's some ripped pages, some torn out pages. Wonder where those pages went. And so then we've got instructions manual for flying the airplane that he was in. Pictures of him in short round. Oh, see, here's him in India let's see, flipping back here. Oh, there's here's him and I think her name is Billy. And so we flip back through here. He's down in South America flying these airlines. Here's some German communiques talking about the Ark of the Covenant. And here's a mapping out of the complex. So you see all of this stuff that ties in with the movies, especially the initial 3. Those are great. But even that 4th one that people complain about, look here's a diagram of the Grail, the actual Grail that it was. But even that 4th one, it's back here too. Like, for example, here's a picture of the house and the refrigerator that Indy hides in to keep from dying in the nuclear explosion. And then if we come farther back here, you'll see, there's a picture of his kid, who I wasn't really a fan of that part there. Oh, here a picture of the elongated skull, the crystal skull. Yeah, and then suddenly that's it. That's the last page. So that's where Dr. Jones's journal comes to an abrupt pause at that point there. But so I feel very privileged, very honored to have this copy of Dr. Henry Jones Jr. Early edition journal. But I also have in this little canvas, little burlap bag here, I have a replica of another item that's a big deal in Indiana Jones. The very first movie, Finding the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I have the headpiece of Ra. You see? And it's got the writing on one side, and you flip it around, and it's got the little bit of writing on the other side. Because remember, in the movie, the guy grabs it with his hand, and it burns into him the one side, and so that tells him to make the stick. But on the other side, it says to make the stick shorter in honor of God. And so that's, without knowing that, you can't the stick's not the right height, and so when the light shines through the jewel, it's not going to shine on the right part on the floor. But anyway, so there you go. I got the headpiece of Ra to go along with my Indiana Jones items. I have a bullwhip too, but it's also out in the shed, so I don't have that in here. All right, let's see what else we got, because wait, there is more. All right, so now let's move out of the sci-fi and fantasy area into fantasy Western area. I do like Westerns, certain kinds of Westerns especially, and there are a couple of shows that I'm a big fan of. One of them being Maverick. I really love the show Maverick. Both the series back in the 50s and even the short-lived revival series, Brett Maverick, that happened in the 80s. It only went one season. That was a shame. I wish it would have went on longer. I thought it was very good. But anyway, so with Maverick, and Maverick, I am such a big fan, especially of James Garner's character, Brett Maverick, that my very first profile picture on Facebook was not myself. It was a picture of Brett Maverick. And so, yeah, I've been a big fan of Brett Mavericks over the years. And so that is extended into some of the things that I bought. See, it is a little dangerous having the Brass Armadillo, which is an antique collectibles shop not far from my house. Every once in a while, I go over and I just walk around, I stroll around, and I see things. And I'm like, oh, they have one of those? Oh, I like one of those. Like, for example, I now have this book. A book tie-in of Maverick that's back from the 50s when the show was on the air. Let's see. Oh yeah, it just says starring Jack Kelly and James Garner and Jack Kelly. But anyway, so there's that one there. But then I also have a comic book. There was actually a comic book series of Maverick, and this one is Brett and Bart help a poor miner become the richest man in Nevada. See, so still just 10 cents it says. But so I've got that comic book for Maverick, and I've got some other items that are Maverick related or Maverick tie-in. But that's all I'll show you for now. Let's see what else we got. All right, and going on with the Western thing, because this is really, if I was going to pick a Western thing to talk about, this actually may have been one of my first obsessions, to be honest with you, and that is the Lone Ranger. See, I'm a big fan of Clayton Moore, his character, where he portrayed his portrayal of the character in the 1950s on television, and they did a couple of movies as well. Him and Jay Silverheels as Tonto. But I also really like the old radio programs, the old time radio programs. That actually is where the Lone Ranger started in the 1930s on radio. And you know, it's had has about 6 different individuals that played the Lone Ranger over the 20, almost 30 years that it was on the air. But it was from that character on radio that it spawned into movie serials that used to show pieces of the story before an actual movie that you went to go see, along with cartoons and things like that. We've lost that whole experience. We don't really get that much anymore. But did that. It also spawned, again, the TV series, and the Lone Rangers continued to live on since then. There have been numerous attempts to try to revive the Lone Ranger's character and continue on the story of the Lone Ranger and Tonto. The most recent one by Disney was horrible. That was a movie that should have never been made. Johnny Depp never should have played Tonto. That was a mistake all the way around. It was just horrible. And I say that as a Lone Ranger fan. I was very disappointed by it. And I thought I would already been disappointed enough in the last time they tried to do a movie called The Legend of the Lone Ranger, in which they had some guy that didn't hardly look like, didn't even put on the mask until, you know, the movie was almost done. And it was just his whole character. He's a whiny, book smart lawyer fellow, and not the paragon of virtue that we know the Lone Ranger to be. But anyway, that one, they also had a whole legal matter behind the scenes where they told Clayton Moore he could not wear his mask anymore because he was still going around doing appearances as the Lone Ranger at county fairs and, you know, rodeos and stuff. And they said, no, because we have this new movie coming out. We need this new guy to be the Lone Ranger. We can't have you running around still pretending to be the Lone Ranger too. So they did the court injunction, said, Clayton Moore, you can't. And people, they rejected that too. Oh man, did they push? That was horrible the way they pushed back on it. And it contributed to the failure of that movie too, because how dare you take the mask off the Lone Ranger that we all know and love. So I thought that movie was a horrible movie and a failure. But then Disney said, hold my drink. But I'm focused on the older Lone Ranger stuff. Again, radio, early 50s, the 50s TV series, and along with that came a whole bunch of other stuff. So you've got here, I've got on record and cassette tape and CD and download various episodes of the Lone Ranger radio program. Showing you I showed you the Maverick comic book that I have. Well, I have many Lone Ranger comic books and Tonto. Tonto had his own comic book series as well. Lone Ranger coloring book. Lone Ranger children's book. And of course, I have the complete collection of all of the original series books of the Lone Ranger, written by Franz Stryker himself, who was the author and creator of the Lone Ranger character on the radio program, as he wrote books based off of his own character that they created in radio. And so many of these books are based off of actually multiple episodes of radio program merged into a cohesive story, which is not that much unlike what happened with the Clayton Moore character on TV, where they would do these half-hour programs, and then at later years, they would take those half-hour programs, they would stitch several of them together, taking out the opening and ending credits, and it would make it seem like it was like a 2-hour Lone Ranger adventure when he's just going from adventure to adventure, and they just stitched them together in that way. So, pretty smart. But Frank Stryker did it first with his books, with his radio stuff. But anyway, I got the whole complete set of the original release Lone Ranger novels. Hi-oh Silver, away! Let's keep going. All right, this next item, unfortunately, I only have the one item now, but you'll have to take my word for it. I used to have a lot more. And that is from a TV show that I really, my dad enjoyed it and I would watch it with him, but I really got into watching it as well, to the point that I bought all kinds of t-shirts as apparel things would come out. I had action figures, I had Jeeps and things. I'm not talking about G.I. Joe. I'm talking about the 407th MASH unit. In fact, I might still have these figures around somewhere in storage now that I think about it, but I don't know where. But this is the last remaining. I think I got rid of all the t-shirts. I haven't seen them in years, so I'm assuming so. But this was a surgical Smock that I'm sure I can't wear anymore. But I actually wore this. I wore this a lot, all the time. I wore it to school and everything. And on the back, they're all faded out. Colors are faded, but it was the cast picture, and it says "Goodbye, farewell, amen," because this was issued in conjunction with the final episode of MASH. And I actually hosted a MASH party, a viewing party for that. I was still in high school at the time, but it was a big deal. And so yeah, I really enjoyed MASH. I still enjoy watching it now and again. It's really a lot of fun to go and view. But again, I used to be much heavier into that. As I said, I don't think I don't know if I still have all the action figure things, the Jeeps and and all that kind of stuff. But I did have a lot of that stuff for a while. Someday maybe it'll turn up again. But until then, let's see what else. Here we come, walking down the street. What would a video be of me talking about what I geek out over without talking about the monkeys? Come on, this has got to be, this is the granddaddy of them all for me, I suppose. This also gets a little warm on my head, so I'm not gonna keep wearing. But I got this at one of their concerts recently. It's even got the little buttons in the back part of the ear. But so the monkeys, long time been a fan of theirs, and I don't just mean the TV show. And in fact, I've said before, I'm actually a bigger fan of their music than I am of the TV show. And I used to have, my dorm room used to be literally covered, the walls covered in monkey posters. My roommate was so tolerant. But literally, monkeys posters everywhere. I had a Monkees tour jacket. I had just, yeah, all kinds of stuff. I did get rid of something because I realized, okay, see, that's another term that comes into play. Obsession. I don't have the Monkees obsession anymore, but I do still really appreciate them, and I appreciate their music, and so I do still collect that. You might say I have an obsession with their music now that I have a 13-hour playlist on my phone that I call the Monkees Chronology. That's their songs as a group, songs that they did as solo artists, clips from the show, interviews that they've done over time, just all that kind of stuff, all merged into a 13-hour playlist. But so I've got you saw the hat there. Of course, the Monkees. Davy Jones played tambourine, so I got the a cheap version of his tambourine. I actually have a white tambourine with that's the half cut one with the handle on it that I bought because the first time I saw the Monkees on tour back in '86. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 86 when they did their 20th anniversary tour, and I saw them in Des Moines. That was the kind of tambourine Davy Jones used, and so I promptly went out and bought one of those as well. But this is the cool one because this is the more vintagey looking 60s one with their logo on it and everything. But the Monkees did more than just, there was more than just music, the Monkees merchandising, a whole bunch of stuff. I don't have a lot of those things like the lunch boxes and the finger puppets and all those kind of things. But I did find this over at the Brass Armadillo. Interesting little fun book, Monkees Go Mod instead of Mad. The Monkees Go Mod. A mad trip into the mod world of Mickey, Mike, Davy, and Peter. So that's a fun little book. But of course, the music is the big highlight for me. So I have, and this is more courtesy of eBay, the marvelous entity that it is. Here it is, an original release copy of the very first Monkees album. See, their actual first album. Their second album, which is the most blatant Beatles ripoff, really. If you've seen the Beatles Rubber Soul album cover, it's like, hello. I also have, along with that, I've acquired 45s. So here is the 45, original release 45, Last Train to Clarksville. With Take a Giant Step on the other side. See, here's the jacket for it. So the original release, Monkees 45. This is the song that started it all. That started their hit success. And it's ironic too because it's a depressing song if you really listen to it. It's about a guy going off to war and afraid he's never going to see his girlfriend again, never going to come back again. But then also, a little later on, as the Monkees got more adventurous, they took control of their musical fortunes and actually were allowed to play their own instruments because they weren't in the early days there. They started releasing stuff. And one of the songs that, their own stuff, one of the songs that Mickey Dolenz wrote was called Randy Scouse Git. Well, it was a term he heard when they were in England, and he liked it. He thought it was kind of funny. He put on there, well, apparently it's a vulgar term in England. And so when he released his song called Randy Scouse Git, they said, you can't call it that here in England. You have to give it an alternate title. And so he's like, an alternate title? Okay. And they called it, fine, we'll call it alternate title. And so here you go. Here is my copy of the 45 as released in England. Notice the centerpiece for English record players. Here's the 45 is released in England. That's called alternate title. On the backside backed with Forget That Girl by the Monkees. So that's a fun little extra piece there. But then my music collection also includes their more recent stuff, like the 50th anniversary incredible album called Good Times. That even though Davey had passed away, they still included him on one of the tracks on here, a vintage track they had of him. That oddly enough, even though it had been heard on a TV show many times, and it had been on some of the re-release albums, just sort of as a deep cut kind of thing, it had never actually been on officially one of their albums back in the 60s, and so it was the first time that it was included on this album here. But so Davey is represented here, but Mickey, Mike, and Peter do an incredible job doing pretty much all original songs that were written for them by indie recording artists, and they sound absolutely incredible. It's amazing. Rolling Stone even called this one of the top 10 albums of the year. Think about that. The Monkees, 50 years later, and Rolling Stone calls their album one of the top 10 albums of the year. But the most recent album that the Monkees did, and it really was now down to just Mickey and Mike with with a track of Peter as he was suffering from his cancer issues with his mouth, and so his is very highly digitized. But we have the Monkees' first ever Christmas album. They never actually released a Christmas album. So weirdest thing, but you'd have thought they'd have done one back in the day, but they did not. So the Monkees' Christmas album. And again, Davy Jones is on here as well, and a couple of tracks that they pulled from some of his solo work, where he did some Christmas music. But then Peter's on here playing his banjo. The rest of it is predominantly Mickey, with Mike doing a couple of songs too, because Mike had open heart surgery, and so was not in the best of condition at the time either. But so Mickey does most of the heavy lifting. There are some traditional songs on it. There's also, again, a lot of brand new songs written by indie recording artists that the Monkees did, and it's as Christmas albums go, it's one of my favorites. Imagine why. But okay, I think that's enough monkeying around. This episode has been very long, and if you made it all this way to the end, you get a gold star. All right. See, there you go. There's a peek into my mind. The mind of Paul's Geekdom. There you go. All right. I'll let y'all go, and I'll see y'all next time. And I won't have all this stuff with me. From my front porch.